Dear chess friends, crazy things are going on in the SuperUnited Rapid and Blitz chess tournament in 2023. Magnus Carlsen is on a fury roll. Really crazy how Magnus is playing. He's playing an immortal performance here. He won now, as I'm recording this video, because still 2 more rounds have to be played. But as I'm recording this video, Magnus won now 7 consecutive games in top grandmaster level, in elite level of chess. Magnus could destroy the whole competition. He won his games against Jan Nepomniachtchi, Vishy Anand, Gukesh, Alireza Firouzja, Fabiano Caruana, Jan Krzysztof Duda, Ivan Šarić. Really an epic immortal performance here by the strongest, simply strongest and best player in the world. So what you say, Magnus gained here, look at this, 25 rating points in such a high level chess. Really crazy what's going on. Maybe he can catch also in this event Alireza Firouzja. He won his direct duel against Alireza. In my opinion, in this tournament, Magnus could get his throne back in Blitz chess because how he's playing, nothing is impossible here for Magnus for sure. So I've sorted out in this road rage by Magnus Carlsen an amazing gameplay by Vishy against Magnus. Here Magnus played with the black pieces. In my opinion, really again a beautiful game played by these two legends. So here Vishy opened with the move e4. We have a c6, the caro-kann by Magnus. Knight to f3. Magnus hits the center. Vishy protects, and now after a couple more moves, the queens were off the board. The game was simplified, but believe me or not, this is not such an easy game to play. It seems that there are no complications, the further complication in the position, but still both of these players are always spicing up the game somehow. So knight to f6, Magnus attacks, knight to d2, played by Vishy, protecting the pawn. You can also play knight to knight from b to d2, but probably you don't want to get after e6 and bishop to b4 pinned or something. Then of course also black can get some spaces here on the queen side. Vishy tried this idea to regroup here on the queen side, but Magnus uses now this moment because now the knight is covering the bishop and Magnus expands on the king side. Vishy expands on the queen side. We have now g4 by Magnus. Magnus has now the space advantage of this side of the board, and now Vishy plays maybe not the best of moves, bishop to d3. This bishop will Magnus use now as his main target because the bishop is of course supposed to play better, more active, not something that simply defends one pawn. Magnus uses this moment. Knight from b to d7, he hits the bishop immediately. Vishy doesn't want to play this with the same piece twice in the opening. He doesn't want to break any principles, and Magnus uses this moment. Continue simply now the game with the beautiful bishop here. Bishop to e6, king to e2, bishop to g7, bishop to e3. So both players have good chances. Maybe Vishy has also here a nice attacking opportunities. Knight to a5, knight takes b7. This bishop is targeting this one. So Vishy has also chances. The engine gives here also equal chances for both sides. So knight to d7 by Magnus. We have f5, trying of course now to break the positional light squares, because when you have the bishop here, of course you want to have the position open, not this close structures in the center of the board. E takes f5 and bishop to f5. Now Magnus has a clear targeting on the continuation. He wants to now take out the weak pawn on d3. Here we have knight to e4, king side castling, b4. Continue the pressure on the queen side. Magnus still continues the pressure around the square e4. Knight takes f6, and now bishop to f6, keeping also a nice grip on dark squares. And now the bishops are playing here in a beautiful and active way. Knight to a5, hitting the pawn, but Magnus plays a beautiful counter attack. He doesn't want to defend, of course, his pawn. He plays first attacking chess, which is of course the way to go. Now the position is exploding, which is basically good for the bishop here, because the bishops of course love the open game. So now the rook comes actively into the game. Both players have taken one pawn, but Magnus has of course here some structural weaknesses. But when we watch now the activity, white's pieces are a little bit passive, black pieces are much more active. So we have here knight to c5 by Vishy Anand. If you take of course rook to c6, then you're vulnerable to this idea, bishop to e4, hitting the pawn. Also many pieces will be lined up on light squares, knight to c5. That's why Magnus hits now this pawn on a4, rook from h to d1, rook to b8, hitting now the pawn, and now Vishy has to protect now the pawn with the move rook to c4, king to f7, getting the king closer. We have now the fork against the bishop and the rook, and Magnus goes simply first with a check. We have king to e1, bishop to e6, attacking the rook, and now finally, after a couple of trades of pieces, Magnus took now also here the pawn on b4. And now comes the critical moment of the game. Now, my question here for you is, obviously, white will lose the pawn here on a4. Black will also lose the pawn on a7, but my question here is, would you take now the pawn with the rook, or would you take out now the pawn with the bishop? So pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here for white. I'm telling you the best continuation because this continuation leads only into a drawish line for both sides. The other continuation is simply losing. Okay, here Vishy made a huge blunder with rook to a7. Bishop to a7 had to be played in order to further cover your bank rank. After rook to a7, Magnus uses now this moment and plays an amazing bishop to d4. This is the way they go. Very wild stuff. Look at this. If you take it out, then you get checkmated. Here on the back rank, you have to, of course, cover with the rook, but you just prolong the game for one more move. After bishop to d4, Vishy notices his mistake, but now Magnus takes, and here after move rook takes g2. In this position, Vishy Anand resigns. So there's nothing that can be done. Even if you try something like here rook to c2, then we first deliver check, you have to cover, and then we occupy the second rank. For instance, after rook to g2, if you try immediately, of course, to cover the back rank, now again we cover the second rank, and now after a couple more checks, the issue is here that this pawn will protect eventually the rook here, and in one particular moment we can even threaten some checkmate. We have here two connected passers. You can play, of course, rook to f4, trading off the rooks, which is the only way to survive this position, but with two connected pass pawns on the king side, the game is over for Vishy Anand. So after move rook takes g2, Vishy resigns. So maybe not the most epic game. It ended actually because of a huge blunder by Vishy, but Magnus is not making these blunders now today. He won, as I said, 7 games in top elite grandmaster level. Really crazy how Magnus is playing today. If he continues like this, he'll break, of course, this 2900 rating in Blitz chess for sure. He can, I think, even be the best rated Blitz player now in the world after this event. So congratulations to Magnus. I'm not sure how his game ended against Rapport. He's playing against Rapport and one more game than afterwards. So we'll follow, of course, this epic road of Magnus Carlsen for sure in the continuation of my YouTube chess channel. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this big news. Really crazy what Magnus is doing here. If you want to see more games from this beautiful chess event, check out our coverage so far. Here are some links of some games that we have analyzed before, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.